The BRICS nations have come up with a new global reserve currency that could spell the end of the dollar's dominance. The proposal is for a multipolar world with a more diverse set of reserve currencies. This could have a major impact on the global economy and the role of the dollar. Will this destroy the dollar? The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have come up with a new global reserve currency called the BRICS Development Bank Reserve Currency that could spell the end of the dollar's dominance. This new currency could soon be endorsed by the IMF and World Bank, and it is being seen as a serious challenger to the dollar. Some say this could destroy the dollar and the US economy. In this video, we'll discuss whether or not this new currency will be able to destroy the dollar and what implications it could have for the global economy. BRICS announced in June 2022 that Argentina and Iran had submitted membership requests to the BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, BRICS, are a forum that enables nations outside of Western developed economies to form alliances on economic issues. Until recently, BRICS was made up of only 5 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Its power and economic significance expand as it gets bigger. The BRICS group of key emerging economies, which was founded in the middle of the 2000s, has long advocated for close cooperation among its members, and more recently, has started to push for a global realignment of geopolitical influence to better match its members' geographic, demographic, and more so economic potential with their place in the international order. The BRICS countries first proposed the idea of a shared reserve currency in 2011, and it has since gained traction. The Mail and Guardian reported at the time that South Africa was in favor of developing a single unit of currency that the BRICS nations could use to conduct business among one another. The main goal of this action would be to avoid the need for currency conversions between the US dollar and the euro. Recently, it has been suggested that the creation of a common BRICS reserve currency will help speed up the de-dollarization of the BRICS. The member nations' trade flows could be improved, and exchange rate volatility would be reduced by using a single currency to settle trade disputes. According to the former president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, the BRICS countries, which are among the biggest in the world, cannot contend themselves in the middle of the 21st century with any kind of dependency. Vladimir Putin's chief economic advisor, Sergei Glaziev, wrote about the necessity of a global anti-dollar alliance in the piece that was published in last June. He urged allies to stop using the dollar and trade on the global scale and start depleting the currency reserves. Recent currency swaps, foreign direct investment, and dollar-free BRICS energy deals all point to the creation of a new reserve currency. The need for a single reserve currency is once again being expressed in 2022. This time, Russia is leading the charge for the development of a reserve currency that would serve as an alternative to the US dollar as a means of settling cross-border trade. Given that it has been at war with Ukraine since February 2022, Russia's motivation for making this call is clear. Due to its aggression against Ukraine, Russia is now subject to some of the most severe economic sanctions in history. The biggest source of suffering has been the fact that since the start of its conflict with Ukraine, Russia has been unable to access at least half of its foreign exchange reserves. Leading countries in Europe and the US have imposed economic sanctions on Russian energy exports. Due to the dependence of the majority of European and other countries on Russian oil and gas, this development has not been easy. For its part, Russia has retaliated against what it sees as hostile nations by purposefully shutting off the gas. It is clear that China would be and is the driving force behind the BRICS currency discussion, despite calls to do so from Russia. China, which is the second largest economy in the world after the United States, has the largest foreign exchange reserves of any nation in the world, as was already mentioned. Dmitry Medvedev, a former president and prime minister of Russia and currently the deputy chairman of the Security Council, has suggested that the BRICS nations may establish a new global reserve currency to best serve their economic interests. The best protection against the rotting euro will be the transition to new payment methods and trade with our reliable partners, including through the use of national currencies: the Russian ruble, the Chinese yuan, the Indian rupee, etc. In the future, the creation of a new reserve currency of BRICS countries is also possible. The dollar, euro, and pound sterling are clearly not enough for the modern world, Medvedev stated. In late June 2022, the BRICS group of countries held their 14th summit in Beijing, China, where they decided to work together to strengthen and reform global governance and preserve global peace and security. Iran also declared its intention to join BRICS last month, citing the country's unique geographical position and its potentials in the field of energy, transit, and trade, as well as its potential to serve as a golden route to connect East and West. Russia's President Vladimir Putin announced in June 2022 during the BRIC Forum that a new global reserve currency comprised of a basket of BRICS currencies will be introduced in his country, alongside China and the other BRICS countries. Such a reserve currency would directly compete with the US dollar, which is currently dominating the global market. Iran and Argentina may be joining the bandwagon because they see a chance to forge an alternative alliance to Western-led globalization. While this is going on, the other BRICS members are enticing them to join because they are fearful and they see significant economic weaknesses emerging as a result of the abrupt lifting of Western sanctions imposed on Russia. An emerging trading bloc with its own reserve currency will certainly pose a threat to the West and the US dollar's global dominance. When calculated using a purchasing power parity calculation, the BRICS currently account for about 31.5% of global GDP. 33% of global GDP will be achieved when Iran and Argentina are included in the bloc. Considering that this is a sizable potential trade bloc, and the fact that it accounts for 33% of the world's GDP, these are more than enough reasons to support the creation of a reserve currency. The BRICS nations can't yet completely abandon the current US dollar-based financial system, due to the budding de-dollarization infrastructure of the BRICS. Initiatives by the BRICS to de-dollarize the current international financial system is primarily taking place at the sub-BRICS level, and have not yet attained the necessary economies of scale. The formation of a unitary de-dollarization coalition by the BRICS is hindered by two main obstacles. First, some BRICS members have closer relationships with the United States than with fellow BRICS members. This is evident in the case of India and its relationships with the United States and with China. While this prevents BRICS members from adopting a formal, cohesive de-dollarization strategy in the near term, they may still informally pursue de-dollarization initiatives. Second, some BRICS members, such as Brazil and South Africa, are less vulnerable to US sanctions and have economies that are more integrated into the dollar system than others. Thus, the BRICS members have neither group-level consensus on de-dollarization, nor do they share the same sense of urgency to prioritize de-dollarization. All of them are interested in reducing their dependence on the US dollar, but not all want to be separated from the US-led global financial system. Most BRICS members still hold large amounts of US dollar assets in their reserves, so the weakening of the US dollar imposes losses on them. Beyond this, however, there is big room for cooperation between the nations. Together, the expanded BRICS nations currently account for about 26% of the world's oil production and 50% of the production of the iron ore used to make steel. They generate about 46% of the world's wheat production and 40% of the corn. If all of these were transacted in the new reserve currency, it could pretty soon establish itself as a pillar of the global economy. The US dollar has already begun to decline in the meantime. Compared to the 70% it made up in 1999, the US dollar now only accounts for 59% of global reserves, according to a report released by the IMF at the beginning of June. Now, picture how it would appear if the BRICS launched the reserve currency now. Let's call it the BRIC. Suppose the BRIC was kept as a reserve in the manner that it was roughly consistent with the group's significance in terms of the total GDP, and that it ate into the holdings of all other reserves equally. The BRIC might easily compete with the US dollar. So, there you have it. That's all we have on the BRICS' new global reserve currency. Do you think the BRICS is a threat to the USD? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.